Thank you, Meili. So in that process, I think, of undergoing that learning journey, as you've already alluded to, there's quite a great deal of vulnerability shown by the people who participate in collaborative governance processes. And often that vulnerability dovetails or coincides with sensitive issues. So what advice would you give researchers and practitioners who hold that space for these collaborative governance processes? What measures can they take to make sure that they are demonstrating sufficient sensitivity, that they are empathetic, that they are taking care with the stories that people are entrusting to them?
For me, I would say that it is quite key as a facilitator to to be to be number one sensitive, and secondly to acknowledge a person's views, a person's story or opinion, and hold that with great sensitivity. That and then you allow yourself to repeat what they have said in your understanding, so that they will then acknowledge that that is a correct interpretation of what you're saying and how you're understanding that. And I think that builds trust and a great a relationship between you and whoever has shared their stories or views. So you are allowing yourself to build that with the participant, and I think that's quite key. So acknowledgement, people love to be acknowledged, and that shows great appreciation towards you as a facilitator from the participant side. And I think that's quite key and crucial in these collaborative engagements. Yeah.
Okay. And so the second question related to that is, how do we make sure that researchers, practitioners are not being extractive in drawing out these stories from the people who allow themselves to be vulnerable in imparting their views, imparting their opinions? How do you make sure that those ultimately are for the benefit of a collective, whether it's a community, a society, and that they are not used in ways that the storyteller, the caregiver of the information, intended for it to be used?
Being truthful and sincere towards the person sharing the stories is actually you as a facilitator or a researcher. Um, it is about you connecting with the person. And once that person feels that sincerity from you and that acknowledgement truthfully, they connect much better at a much better level with you. And therefore, you as that researcher you have an obligation to that sincerity and that truthfulness that you have shown in order to be able to extract that information. So it goes back to my first point that you have to be at all times truthful with yourself in order to be truthful with the other. You are expecting acknowledgement of that the correctness, the accuracy of the story from the person. Now, once that person acknowledges that you are indeed interpreting their story truthfully and honestly and sincerely, you then have an obligation to then not distort that story.
Okay, I just want to repeat a few things that you said because I think that they are so important, Meili. So you've spoken about the need to establish trust. You've spoken about the deep personal work that needs to be undertaken in order to establish accountability. You've spoken about the need to ensure the truthfulness. And so I think You've mentioned the need to acknowledge what has been said and that it has been accurately interpreted, which is really crucial, I think, which speaks to the legitimacy, I suppose, of the information that you receive. And then you've spoken about the responsibility incumbent upon researchers, practitioners, facilitators, which speaks to an ethical code, I suppose, an ethical code of conduct. And so these really cement the foundation to the work that you do as a facilitator. And then you mentioned several times, and I just want to reiterate, the truthfulness, the truthfulness, the truthfulness. And so it really is about making sure that you're not spinning or putting your own interpretation on things, but that you are really giving expression to what has been said by the people participating in the process. So thank you for that. My next question, and I won't keep you for much longer because we're really grateful for your input, but you've said, what is the nature of the work, I suppose, that you do as a facilitator on yourself? What are the ways in which you prepare yourself to hold space? What are the ways in which you deepen that ability to connect with the people who participate in your processes?
Thank you so much, Kaya, for that question. Um, there's quite a lot of deep work that I do personally in improving myself. I try to listen more. I try to read. I meditate and pray quite a lot, and that allows me to connect with myself and in turn be able to read a lot of energies that allows me to draw from the energy within the room, um, how people are feeling being in the space. There's quite a lot of, in most cases, quite a lot of anxiety among participants, and you'd think you as a facilitator are anxious, but participants always, give off the right energy that you need, and you need to then that informs how you respond or hold that space as a facilitator, because you can tell from that energy within the room that there's quite a lot of clarity that needs to be done. So you set a tone at the beginning, and setting that tone, you're putting everybody at ease because the energy that you have felt, you are now trying to neutralize it, and it becomes an entire different energy from what it would have been when people were starting to come together and sharing the space with others. What I'm meditating for is neutrality of energy that then would allow me to be able to read differently. So connecting with self most of the time is quite important. That's why from the onset I said you need to do a lot of self work.
Maybe right from the start, you said that working in collaborative governance, it's an undertaking that you learn from doing. So there's clearly applied learning. Can you share with us some of the projects or practical experiences that you've amassed over the years that have really shaped who you've become as a person working in the collaborative governance space?
Let me start with the one in Gualang, but I've seen these ladies training there. But what had touched me during this process was their lived realities. I mean, they've been trading there since 93. Now it's 2023. And in the same conditions, their resilience is what moved me. If for so many years, these entrepreneurs who have shown resilience through the difficult conditions that they work in, through the different weathers, conditions that they have been through, with no infrastructure provided for, is there no one that sees the need to assist, to give business support, to these are opportunities that one can undertake in order to make a difference.
Bailey, thank you so, so much for sharing with us today. I think I hear both your optimism just about the potentials of supporting informal trade, but then also a deep frustration about the lack of support, which means that it's not catalyzed to achieve the levels that it could, just with those very basic investments into infrastructure, into health and hygiene and sanitation standards. And so I really just want to commend you for the work that you do, because I know that it's important, as you were saying, to tap into the knowledge and the expertise of people's lived realities, because that is the grounded, deep understanding of what prevails and what needs to be done, I think, to drive us forward towards those goals.
Thank you. Thank you too for providing this platform.